When I was in 8th grade, I was a skinny little kid, and this is when I had my very first physical conflict with another much bigger kid. I don't really remember what the argument was about, but I'm pretty sure it was about something really stupid. Well, anyways, the argument escalated and that bigger kid just grabbed me by my collar. Then I just broke his grip, took him down, beat the shit out of him, and practically became a celebrity at school. Nope, that's not what happened at all. I actually did nothing. When this bigger kid grabbed me by my collar, I turned into a deer staring at headlights. Fear took over me and I just froze. This was my very first taste of physical conflict and I did not like it whatsoever. I remember going back home after this incident happened and just thinking about all the things that I could have done, all the things that I should have done, and what I would do if it ever happened again. But the truth is that that event really damaged my self-image. I was a coward in my own eyes and that bothered me. I thought about the incident for weeks, but the one good thing that came out of that incident was that it had planted this idea in my head that I needed to have the ability to fight. Because in the male hierarchy, when shit hits the fan and words are no longer enough, then the conflict escalates into the physical realm. And I don't care how much you try to convince yourself that, oh, I really don't need to learn how to fight, I'm a pacifist, or that we live in a civilized society. The truth is that every disagreement that you have with someone has the potential to turn into violence, and you subconsciously know that. It was this childhood memory that drove me towards getting really physically competent. I started lifting weights, eating more protein, and taking Muay Thai classes. After about 8 months of training or so, I started sparring. And after 2 years of Muay Thai training, I knew that I could hold my own in a fight and the odds were now in my favor. But most importantly, I knew that I would not just freeze in a conflict because I had now exposed myself to a lot of micro conflicts in the form of sparring and I had trained my nervous system to respond better to such a scenario. My response went from flight to fight. This was the number one benefit of training martial arts. I now had this aura of confidence. Prior to learning martial arts, I was this anxious person who was a bit socially awkward. I had these people-pleasing tendencies and I now realized that I had put up a facade of being a nice guy just to mask away the fact that I did not have what it takes to confront someone. A black belt was a white belt that never quit. This was the quote that one of my coaches said on the very first day that I entered the gym, and this really inspired me and changed my perspective in a way. I now knew that if I wanted to become a really good martial artist, I did not need to make crazy earth-shattering efforts, but rather I needed to show up to the gym consistently. I just needed to be there as often as I could. My focus then shifted from raw intensity to consistency. I knew that if I wanted to do this for the next 10 years, I needed to value consistency a lot more. This subtle change in my value system made me understand the true importance of discipline. This was the second benefit of learning martial arts. Since I wanted to be consistent at it, I started living my life based on a routine. I knew what time I needed to get up. I knew the amount of university work I needed to do. I knew the time that my Muay Thai classes started. I knew what time I needed to eat. I knew what time I needed to go to sleep so that I feel recovered the next day. Having these things that I really cared about and wanted to do made it much easier to have a well-structured day because the incentive was that I actually get to do these things that I enjoy. Back when I was a teenager, the way that I got some sense of pleasure was through activities that gave me instant gratification. These are things like video games, eating garbage food, binge watching shows on Netflix. You know how the typical teenager lives his life. However, I realized that ever since I started taking martial arts seriously, I no longer needed these sources of instant gratification. You see, my life now had a purpose in it. It had meaning to it. I was now seeing myself make progress at something. I was now learning new moves. I was now sweating and my heart was beating fast. All of this made me feel really positive and I no longer needed dopamine from cheap sources. This was the third benefit of learning martial arts. The training is so diverse that it gives you a cocktail of benefits. I was lifting weights twice a week, I was working on my endurance, I was doing a lot of movement that improved my cardiovascular capabilities. All these forms of training released a cocktail of incredibly healthy neurochemicals that significantly improved my mental health. I went from this socially awkward, semi-depressed, semi-awake person to this person that was confident, energetic and focused. Look, I know this video has really motivated you right now and you perhaps are thinking of joining a martial arts club or joining a gym. But the truth is that motivation is a limited resource and it is bound to run out. Most people quit the things that they start. So make sure that you watch this video and build that rock solid discipline that will be the foundation of your journey.